Hey, good evening, folks. How are you? Excuse me. I'm just going to apologize right off the bat. I'm getting over my cold, and if I start coughing, I'm probably just going to mute myself and come back on when we're ready. So, at any rate, hope everybody's out enjoying the heat today. It was at one point, it said 101. So, it's pretty much hotter than a snake's butt in a wagon rut out there, as the late Robin Williams would say in Good Morning Vietnam. But at any rate, so before we get the show started, I was going to mention again on August 16th and 17th down there in, excuse me, Springfield, Missouri. Mike Lindell is going to be having his Lindell event, and I'll be down there speaking those days on behalf of North Dakota. So I'm very excited about that. If you guys want more information, you can go to the lindellevent.com for more info. With that, I'd like to bring on our guest tonight. She was on a couple of weeks ago. We're going to continue talking about the school board recall here in Williston. Her name is Dawn Hollingsworth. How are you, Dawn?
Good. How you doing, Shiloh?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to get over this cold, so.
I know you are. Yeah, so, we talked about a lot of different stuff the last podcast that we did together and with Kit. Unfortunately, her schedule didn't mesh with ours, so she couldn't be on tonight. But I know we were going to follow up on like the Data Atlas Center. Not a whole lot that I know as far as detail, other than, it was on June 20th. They cut the power. Supposedly the county commission had said, cut power on phase 2, stop immediately. So, community was saying, well, that night power was still on. The people in that immediate neighborhood said, well, it's still going as far as we can tell. It hasn't gotten any more quiet. Long story short, I believe attorneys had gotten involved and whatnot. Then on June 29th, the county commission had come back and unanimously agreed and said, okay, well, we'll give you a temporary 60-day certificate of occupancy. Well, when you hear the details of Montrell Williams, the electric co-op is bringing in $3 million per month, being paid by Atlas. Well, would you cut the power either? Right. I mean, that was kind of a no-brainer for some people. Were like, well, they said, oh, there's no effects to the people or environment or anything else. Well, yeah, there is. That's why this came up in the first place, because people are sick and tired of it, especially those that live right there in the immediate area. My gosh, that sound.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. Absolutely awful.
I didn't drive down that road, but I did see that they're starting to construct what looks like a wall around those buildings now. Have you seen or heard anything about that?
Just what was said at that time frame, that they were going to build some kind of, wall barricade of sorts for sound, to try and eliminate that, or, help prevent some of that sound. That's all I've really heard. It's been kind of crickets now all of a sudden. So
here's my concern on this whole thing. Number one, it's located right next to a transformer, correct?
There's pieces out there, yes, that were, and I believe they added to that, in order to supply the facilities.
So with this big push for going green by 2030 and all this other stuff, who do you think's going to get the power first? The people who actually need it, or said data center, when push comes to shove?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they refuse to shut it down for the people, because it's consider it, because of the money. Well, are they going to say, oh, sorry, we can't provide you with power. We got to make sure this is running, when the power goes out. Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
See, and that's my thing with these whole things. And I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist when I say stuff like this, but so this is a part of controlling the land. You control the land, you control the power, you control the water, because we all know that it's going to take a lot of water to cool those things off, right? I mean, it's just a known fact. Just like the same thing with out there in Grand Forks with Fufang.
Yeah.
You control the land. I do believe at one point in time it said that corn milling plant was going to use more water than the city of Grand Forks itself. Can you imagine that? Now, Grand Forks, in the grand scheme of things, of how big this country is, Grand Forks in the grand scheme of things is not that big a town.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing was going to use more water than the city of Grand Forks. Now, these data centers, they got one up by Kit, where she's up there up north. Obviously, they got this one here in Williston. In the grand scheme of things, it's about controlling the resources. I mean, just look at it. It's already starting with the electricity, the water to cool them. And they're not even all the way up and running, from my understanding. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct. This is just phase 2.
Yeah, they're not even all the way up and running. Okay. I don't know off the top of my head how much land it is that they have taken to build this, but
yeah, I'm not certain the acreage that exists there. And I can't remember how many servers there are in the buildings either, but we're not talking a couple dozen, we're talking hundreds.
Right.
So it's insane.
So those are my concerns here with that. Not just the noise. I mean, and the noise is part of it. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. But when it comes down to it, we've got a lot more at risk than just the noise. And unfortunately for those poor people that live right across the road, man, I can't imagine what they're going through.
Well, and some of them, it's not necessarily across the road. It's right behind their houses.
Right.
I mean, literally, it's, they put it up, no barriers, no nothing. I mean, that was right in their backyard.
Yep.
So, I mean, to heck with going out and having a barbecue in the backyard or inviting people over, or those that have maybe some livestock, whether that's horses or maybe a couple cows or whatnot, my gosh, talk about, uprooting someone's life and not being able to live their life that they should be able to do.
Well, not only that, Dawn, think about what their land is worth right now.
Yeah.
You want to buy a place like that?
Nope.
I'm not.
Nope. So, yeah, they should be heavily, heavily compensated for the crap that was done to them. The county had fines on Atlas Group, and they paid those fines. Well, that money should go to those constituents that live out there and reside out there. That's where the money should go. It shouldn't go back to the county. It should go back to the people. That's who it's affecting. It's not affecting the county. They just meet at a location here in town. They go back to their homes and it's not affecting them. They're not living. It's not in their backyards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. It's not right. It's not right. And from the sounds of it, it was kind of done behind the scenes, if you could say.
Well, and originally, that's what was brought up. The understanding was they didn't have the initial occupancy. They didn't have, all of their permits and ducks in a row to even start phase 2. So, they just went and did it, and they got a slap on the wrist, it seems like. That's just my perspective as a constituent. They just get a slap on the wrist and they continue doing it. And then they're told, oh, no, you need to shut down immediately. And, oh, no, well, that's a lot of money. So, okay, never mind. Well, we'll give you another temporary for 60 days and you get things in order. Seriously? Is money that important to you that the lives of human beings is worthless? Apparently so.
Unfortunately, it's the world that we live in, and to some people.
All
But
right.
no, it's gonna be interesting to see. You know, it's probably in the big picture of things. It's just one small piece of the puzzle, and they're just gonna try
Well,
chipping away at it.
yeah. Well, I mean, when we talk about big picture, we kind of got into that the last time we spoke too.
Mm-hmm.
Burgum having to come here and give a whole spew and check off all kinds of pieces, in order to not just reorganize school districts, but to reorganize an entire community, an entire city, in
Mm-hmm.
order for big, big business to come so that the money's rolling in.
No.
Well, I mean, these are just simple, small examples of what's really transpiring, but it's over and over and over in this community, all kinds of things. But then, like we've talked about, those of us, different people, you hear it all across the state and you hear it all across the whole doggone country.
Mm-hmm.
To heck with the little people. They're not a politician, so they don't matter.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah.
So we had a guest last week. We were gonna part of the show last week. We were gonna talk about the Mr. Josh Gallion coming to Williston to speak on the audit, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to have the show, so we didn't get to do that. But you attended the event, I know.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep. Myself and quite a few people were there. It was good.
How many people you think were there, Don? How many people you think were there?
Shoot, let me think. There was maybe 50 to 70 people there.
Okay.
I mean, in reality, there's how things are in the community and the tension that exists.
Yep.
I mean, for the most part, at the Arc, they had opened up 2 rooms, and for the most part, it was filled. So I thought it was a good turnout. And I know I had talked to Josh after the meeting when he was traveling back home, back to Bismarck, and he thought it was a good turnout for the community too. He said, he was glad that he could do it, and he was appreciative for it. And I thought, well, geez, I'm appreciative that you came up here.
He's a great guy.
He is.
We've had him on the show, but I've also met him a couple times in person down there at the Capitol. One time was when we had Dr. Frank down there for the press conference, and that he came down and visited with us. In fact, he was the only, let's call them occupants of the Capitol that came and talked to us and spent some time with us. And so, yeah, he
doesn't mind talking to the real people.
No,
he said the people that elected me, I have a duty to talk to them. If they want to talk to me, then I should be available.
Yeah.
So, which he follows suit, and it's appreciated.
Yeah.
So,
it is.
But yeah, it was interesting to say the least. I know there's recordings out there. Yeah. Tom Simon, he had recorded it from Williston Trending Topics, so he had it out there too. As far as his presentation, if people go back and watch it again, I know some had said, well, did he answer all the questions pretty much the same as he did for the school board presentation? Yes and no. And the no part is the fact that he took the time to explain how the findings work. He took the time to explain and define like the differences between opinions. So when he writes the opinion, there's 4 different kinds. There's good, okay, then there's this is bad, and then the last, which is he said, I believe he said he had never done an opinion like that. Mm-hmm. But the District 1, that was this is really ugly bad. So it was nice. He provided the insight and the definitions of what different things mean. So if a person listened to that and paid attention and then listened to his answers that he provided, they would have gotten a totally different insight on his responses. They may have sounded the same, but they would have had that background piece going, oh, well, that means, holy crap, they did really bad.
Mm,
That's what that meant. It meant, oh, they really screwed up. And oh, so that does mean they were fraudulent. Oh, that does mean they violated law and didn't follow what they were supposed to do. And oh, it just kind of helped open up the eyes, so to speak.
right.
So we had, it was interesting because we had some local representatives there too.
Really?
We did. District 1 was all there. District 23, they were all there. Not sure why District 2, none of them came. I don't recall seeing any of them come. But
You can't get them to show up to their own meetings, let alone somebody else's. Oops.
I don't know. I don't follow District 2. So
I'm in District 2, so.
okay. Well, then you would know. You're a resident.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mr. Beckettall, Brad Beckettall, he was kind of much to be desired, to say the least. He really lacked professionalism. He attacked people, and in a sense, he didn't make things sound too awful well. I mean, it just more or less sounded like, he's covered his butt, but, other than that, we just need to, and of course, it was the scenario is always, oh, well, we just need to move forward. There's no point to dwell on this, we just need to move forward. And that was said by couple of different people, which that's fine. If you didn't have violations of law or potential fraud involved,
Yeah.
okay, not a problem. I could move on too. But the simple fact is, you hear of $377 million in discrepancy, in journal entry, and there's no documentation for that. I'm sorry, but that's a real big problem. When you have $6 million in debt, not included in any of the financials, was never recorded. Which
now, I seen that on Josh's deal where he also said it could have been even up to more 10 million or more.
that's what it was at the time of the audit. So yes, even his auditors that worked on this said the same thing. Even in their prior presentations, they said the thing is, that's what it is now. That's not what it started at. Yeah. So, and he made it very clear to point out too in his presentation, his Q&A the other night, that ultimately that affects mill levies. The taxpayers, you don't know whether it's truly right or wrong. Most likely, if that was not accounted for, well, then it's wrong.
Right.
Whether it's to the plus or minus, it is wrong ultimately. Well, that's a big concern. And so people are saying, oh, well, we just need to move forward. It's over and done. We've put things in place to correct these actions. Okay. You haven't addressed the taxpayers on how you're going to adjust the mills. And if we're owed money, or if we owe money, or if you owe money. And the thing is, if there's money that's owed because they didn't account for the debt, it shouldn't come out of the taxpayers' money. They're not the one that's committed any wrongdoing. So that should be completely on the district to figure it out, not on the people.
We know that ain't going to happen.
Well, but yeah, so
I got a question.
Yeah.
Where do we go with all this now that all of this has been exposed? I mean, what are you guys thinking in that community? What's going to be the next step? Obviously, we have all this information, but what do we do with it? I think that's the next question that everybody's asking. Like, that's what I get a lot when I'm out and about, because obviously I work in Williston and I'm out in this community too, and people are asking, so what are we going to do with this? What do we do with this information?
Well,
how do we make this better?
You know, you brought up at the last podcast when we talked, you brought up about, it might be the conspiracy theorist in you or whatnot, but it goes back to the local, we think of everything that's going on at the national level. Well, all the same things are happening at the local.
Right.
And people have power over local. Plain and simple, we do. And expressing or utilizing our rights as far as the next topic, recall of school board members. Well, ultimately you were, it was said, well, they weren't part of the governing body during the audit. It doesn't matter. They were absolutely 100% involved. They started the conversation in 2019 about reorganization and making things unified among school districts. So don't say that, oh, just because our name wasn't on that particular District 1 school board that we shouldn't be held accountable. No, yeah, you should, because you were a part of it. You knew you had plenty of time to address matters, to bring them forth to the people. So here the people, you're saying you told people in campaign efforts that taxes will go down. You told people and promised people extracurricular activities were going to be so abundant and so beyond. You said, there was just a slew of things that were said that they promised. Transportation is going to stay the way it has been. It's not going to change right away. We'll ease into things with this new reorganized district. Nope, that's not what happened. My kids had rode the bus all the years that we were in District 8 up until it changed. And then it was, oh, well, no, you're not going to be on the bus anymore. They're not eligible to be on the bus. Okay, thanks for the empty promise. Nothing but lies, like usual. Just open mouth, and it's a lie. But, the fact remains, they absolutely had more than enough time. There was one occasion where, prior to Chris Junt and Sarah Williams even getting on the school board, there was a meeting held, a private meeting amongst the former Dr. Thakes, who was the superintendent of D1. Joanna Baltus was still on the board. Let's see, I can't remember. I believe Deb Kemp was there. Also, Jody Johnson. She was, possibly still is, the Williams County Schools superintendent of schools.
Mhm.
She was there. Needless to say, I don't remember exactly who all else may have been there, but it was a meeting behind closed doors about the districts. Well, you can't do that. I mean, the fact is they were caught, and Dr. Thake had to apologize for it. Jody Johnson had to apologize for it. So, for them to say, oh, well, we weren't a part of it. Yeah, you were. People had to apologize for it in public. Are you kidding me? Just stop with the lies. Stop with the half truth. Yeah, half of the truth is, no, their names weren't on District 1 school board ever. But the other half of the full truth is they were absolutely aware of the distress that the District 1 was in. And chose not to bring that forth.
Gotcha. Were any of the school board members at this Josh Gallion meeting?
Not one.
Not one.
And I know Tom Simon had a one-on-one with Chris Junt this morning. And
so for everybody, just so they know, who is Tom Simon and who's Chris Junt? Because some people.
So Tom Simon is he runs trending topics here locally for Williston. So he has that piece, and he had invited Chris Junt, who is the current school board president. He invited him for a one-on-one interview. So he asked him some questions this morning. And one of those questions was, we noticed that none of you candidates or any school board members attended the meeting. And he had just paraphrasing, obviously, I didn't expect any new information.
Uh,
So I thought that was kind of funny. And he had asked him, he's like, are you tired? Something to the effect of, are you tired of getting the question about the audit? And he said, no, let's face it, it was not good. Well, and of course he said a whole bunch of other things too, but it's interesting. It's like, okay, in one breath, you'll make one comment and the rest of it is, clearly half truths. We tell half the story, but the other half, those of like myself will tell the full story.
So now, did they just recently have a debate?
There was a public forum on Wednesday, this past Wednesday. So there was the incumbents, which is Chris Junt, John Kasmer, and Kyle Renner. And the new candidates are Charlotte Moore, Ryan Park, and John Greiner. So they were all there. And that in itself, that whole thing, whew, there are no words for.
Well, right now, I don't know most of them. I know John Greiner. I've known John Greiner not just through politics, but I've known him through work because he owns a safety council or a safety
company. Yep.
And he ran when I ran for school board here, and that guy knows this stuff, how a school board should be. I was very impressed with him, and the guy can talk. He's he's just a very polished, and I don't even know if polished is the right word to use, but he knows his stuff, and you can tell his heart's in the right place because he's all about parents' rights, what the school board should be doing.
Well, and one of the incumbents pieces is experience, their experience. Well, boy, your experience hasn't provided a whole lot of benefit to this community, especially that school district and the students that are in it. To say that experience is, what the people should be looking after. Well, my gosh, experience with that. If that's what we're going by, I don't want experience. I want somebody new. I want somebody who, like you say, they can talk, they can answer questions, and you know what? At the same time, they'll learn. These people had no experience when they got on the board, and they have done, this is just opinion, but it's been nothing but politics and a controlling game.
Well, the
whereas,
reason the reason is because when they get elected, the first thing they have to do is go down to this class for the state and be shown how to be a school board, when in fact, and I don't know if John has showed his graphics about the big umbrella, about the school board protecting, the parent being the umbrella for the parents and the faculty and stuff, and the faculty and parents making the decisions for said district, right? Instead, we got all the people that are making our textbooks and different things like that, these special interest groups that are writing our textbooks, that are doing this indoctrination. And I'm not talking about just CRT. Like, I learned a whole bunch when I ran for school board. I mean, you take your group in our school nowadays on what's wrong.
Having gone through that training more than one time, it's literally, it tells you what you should and shouldn't say. That's all it is. It's nothing but politics of what you can and cannot do, what you should and should not say, and there's nothing about talking with the people. It's everything to more or less avoid the people. How to avoid them, how to keep order, how to keep control. It's nothing but way out here kind of training. It gives you no insight on how to manage, how to you know, how to prioritize what's going on and what needs to be done, what should be discussed, how to lay out an agenda in a proper manner, not, you know, it's
Yep.
all of these political pieces is what it is. So, you know, I mean, if they didn't have to go, I would say that's fine. They're not going to obtain anything that constituents, staff, or students will benefit from for them going to that training.
There you have it.
You know, and, you know, this forum that occurred the other night, it was, it, like I said, there are really, there's not a good word for it. There is, but I'd be talking like a sailor if I said that, and you and your viewers might not appreciate it. So I won't say that, but it wasn't good, to say the least. Some people definitely showed their colors. And, you know, the attacks.
I heard Mr. Junt was pretty fired up, and all three of them actually were. All three of the incumbents were, but I heard for the most part the new candidates held their own.
They did. They held their composure. They answered questions. They brought up points. You know, they made good effort to get back, you know, hitting those pieces too, hitting those, pushing buttons as well. They did it very good. They didn't raise their voice. They didn't talk negatively. They didn't come across vicious and obnoxious as some of the incumbents did. I mean, it was whew, yeah.
So how many people do you think were in that showed up for that?
Not even half as many showed up for that as they did for Josh Gallion. So there was maybe 30 plus maybe, but that's about it.
See, the reason why I'm asking is how many people show up for this thing is because what is there, 32,000 somewhere in there for Williston?
Yeah, and you had maybe 32 people show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the question that I have is, and I ask this quite a bit, and it doesn't matter whether it's school board elections, city elections, elections in general. How do we get these people? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know even in our small town, man, we get people fired up about something and they're all mad and they want, you know, they want change and this and that. But when it comes down to it, when the rubber needs to hit the road, nobody shows up. If there's a couple of us, I mean, and you can probably vouch for this, Don, because it sounds like you've been at this for a long time. They get the people that'll stand up, and then nobody will show up to the meetings. Nobody will show up to an election. So in order for us to get change, I'm all for everything that we're doing right now.
Right.
As far as having these forums, that I'm not saying these things are a bad idea. My question is how do we get people to vote? How do we get people to show up and to care?
You know, the campaign that the new candidates are running, they're doing quite the job. They're doing a hellacious job, honestly. They're going door to door. They've got ads going. They've got a website, Williston Kids First. It's quite interesting. They've got a lot of information on there. There's video, there's information. You know, I would suggest people go there. And like we're talking about this too, you know, these kinds of things affect everyone. And if you want to make a change, a big change and a big difference in lives and in future lives, you know, you think, well, we can't change nationally. Well, but the thing is, all of it starts at the local level. And the very first step is school board. Believe it or not, people don't realize how much that changes. If you change what's going on the school board, you absolutely will change, and you have more power to go towards the city commission, to go towards the county commission, and then state level. So, but that's where it starts, and people need to understand that too. And another piece someone had brought up too, when it comes down to, voting. So many people in apartments, it was Dennis Nearing had brought this up. He said, hey, you need to make sure people know this too, mention this. And they absolutely still pay the tax. They may not have a separate piece of paper that says, but
Yep.
it is absolutely in their rent every month. So they make a payment every month. Piece of that is taxes. And when it goes up every year, it's because, oh, guess what? They promised a decrease in the property tax, but oh no, reality is it went up. And so now your rent is going up this year too. So
Yep.
they absolutely do have a right, and their vote does count. So whether you have kids or not, doesn't matter. You're a part of it. You can, absolutely. Whether you live in a single dwelling home or in an apartment, you're absolutely going to make a difference. You are part of it, and you are affected more than you realize. They have all the same rights. They're paying it.
Yep.
They need to get out. They need to understand that it's not just certain people that the incumbents or that campaign might be targeting. They're targeting a different audience, where we're saying, no, it's for everyone.
Yep.
Literally anyone and everyone that resides. You can provide proof that you live in this district. Absolutely. Go vote.
Yep. Yeah, I was visiting with a friend of mine, this last weekend, and we were talking about this Jason Aldean thing in the song, and kind of where national pride has been even since like 2001 with 9/11 that happened. And if you remember with 9/11, what happened there, and then we had a huge outpour of national pride after that. And I mean, we had songs from Toby Keith, and I mean, you name it, and they were coming out with songs. Now, I know I'm kind of going off in a rabbit trail here, but I'll bring it back around. So Jason's song isn't much different than those songs, but the thing that is kind of intriguing to me is the people that are standing up for Jason Aldean right now, just a few years ago, are making fun of all of them guys and saying they weren't country. Now that has nothing to do with what I'm going to say. I find it intriguing, but if we could put as much effort into doing our civil duty and going out and voting and going to these meetings, whether it be a city meeting, school board meetings, I mean, you name it. If we could put as much effort as we do into standing up for songs and this and that, we would be a lot better off. Because in my opinion, that's what we can do to get change. We don't have to pipe off on social media or anywhere else. We need to show up and do our civil duty, because that's the way it was designed. And that's the only way that we're going to get change. We can sit and complain. Everyone that complains to me about stuff that's going on in our little town here. I used to be a city commissioner, and I tell them, hey, rally up the troops. You guys need to go to City Hall and show up. There's nothing that one person can do if you guys aren't going to back them up.
Right.
And I just wish that people would take doing their civil duty more seriously.
Well, and the thing is, that's been stripped from the school. They're not taught any of that. Yep. None of that exists in the schools anymore. That, hey, this is, not only do you have rights, but you have duties that go along with those rights. And here's how this all works. And so they have no understanding of how everything works. It's very frustrating. It's lost arts, like we've mentioned before. Cursive isn't in school, and basic math. What's basic math? I don't know.
Right.
But
yet
it's
it's not Common Core though. It's not.
oh no, it's not Common Core. Of course not. Why would we do that?
No,
Good
I'm
Lord Almighty. Yeah, Gent was talking this morning about academics. And well, you got to look at the beginning of the year, the fall, and then look at the growth, in the springtime. Okay, I'm sorry, but having looked at a lot of this for years, there better be growth each year with those students where they are in that grade level. Yeah, you see that every single year with you should. If you don't, then okay, we gotta set little Joey aside here and find out, okay, why, what's going on, little Joey? What are we having difficulties here? We're seeing this or that. But that's all he talked about. And people take that as that's the big picture. No, that's not how that works. That's not the big picture. The big picture we should see from year to year, how is math looking? How is reading looking? How are the sciences looking? But he's only saying, well, look at these statistics from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. That happens every year. I'm sorry. I'm not dissing any teachers or anything like that. It's the information, once again, that half-assed crap that he's telling. He's only telling part of it. And are the teachers doing their job? Absolutely. I would say yes, they are. If, we didn't see those kinds of things throughout the year, then okay, we might have a teacher problem. But that's not what we're seeing. And bless these teachers in this community and the micromanaging and negative impact that they're receiving on a constant basis. Bless their heart that there are still those willing to stick it out. But it's totally understandable why so many have just said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. You say one thing, then you do another. You hired someone whom is and not doing as they said they were going to do, and literally micromanaging. So
our proficiency scores aren't that great anyway. When your state averages are 40% in math and 30% in reading, excuse me, that's still a failing grade.
Yep, and they're below.
Kids can't read. There's
and
a reason they can't write. They can't.
And the other thing too with this, this whole piece that I thought was comical is the fact that the current superintendent gave the recommendation, oh, well, we need to change the grading. Yeah, they lowered the standards. So all you got to do is pass.
Yep.
I mean, good gravy. What the heck kind of crap?
Honestly, what they need to do is they need to eliminate the Department of Education. They need to eliminate the teachers' union. They need to give the school boards and the parents need to get together and figure out what's going to be taught in each school. They need to pick a curriculum together, and they need to go about it how they did way back when. Because this bull jive that we got going on now, it's all premeditated. They're dummying our kids down so they can't think. I mean,
and then
Don, the whole education, and I don't care if it's higher academia or our public schools, it's all a dumpster fire, and it's all been created on purpose.
Yeah, it's all a script. It's an agenda. It has been for the longest time, and the agenda keeps going to where things keep getting more and more and more stripped away from true academics of what we think of learning to be math, science, reading. Real 1 + 1 is 1. It's not 3. Where I was educated, it was 2, not 3. Not this common. Oh, sorry. No, we don't have Common Core. Sorry.
Real history. Yep. No, but instead we're working on social skills and
Well,
Confusing kids on gender and all this other bull jive that we got going on when they really should be, concentrating on the academics part of it. That's what they're there for.
well, and it's interesting because this all kind of goes around. There was a comment, another question that was asked this morning. It said, "Are you surprised that you, Casmer, and Renner are in this position?" And it was, again, paraphrasing, no, he wasn't surprised. No, there's a lot of angry people still related to the reorganization. And now utilizing an audit of District 1, the three of us had no governing control over as a reason to facilitate this recall.
So that's his excuse, but
That's the excuse they're putting forth and telling some. And it was funny because he continued to say, I think the June results shows overwhelmingly the community is supporting of the district school district is going, and this is a small minority. This is just a small minority grouping.
let me ask you this. Where's this election going to take place?
At the Arc.
Like usual, right?
Yep.
John Waposnik just went through the same ordeal.
Yep.
And this is what I take away from those quotes. I don't think that they're afraid at all. I don't think they're afraid at all. And this is why, Don. Because I think they're going to do the same thing that they did to John. Because John did the same thing. He went door to door. He had ads. He was all over. And he still, it was just like, unless that there's actually going to be transparency in this election to where both sides can watch and this gets counted out fair, the three incumbents I don't think are scared. I think they know that it's going to be.
No, they are not. They do not seem intimidated at all, which is great, which is absolutely wonderful. We need people that are not. They're not going to back down. They're going to go full force all the way up until the bitter end, which is how it should be.
Right.
And it's interesting, again, at the Arc, and I know there were poll watchers there for that June election. And I don't know who had told the poll watchers that they had to be, so many feet away. That's not what Century Code says.
No.
It just says you cannot interfere with the judges, the clerks, and whatnot that are conducting the actual election pieces. So if they want to be within 10 feet, you dang right, they can be within 10 feet, and there's not a dang thing anybody can do about it. As long as they are not interfering, there's no footage. And it says that specifically in the statute. There is no footage. No amount of feet. So, but they were told that at that one, and I thought, that's interesting. So just so people know, that's not what it really is. Don't let them fool us again.
That was going to be my next question is what is the plan then? Are you guys going to have poll watchers or?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not on the first forefront with the campaign itself. So, but I can only imagine they will, knowing how the conversations have been and the things that we have experienced in the past. We know better. I'm sure there will be people there ready to sit and watch.
So is there mail-in balloting or is it just you show up and vote?
Oh no, there's been mail-in ballots as well. You can do both. You can do the day of. You can go down to the district office. They have that available too if you want to do a ballot right then and there and fill out the form, which is an absentee ballot. Absolutely, a person can go do that. Vote for. Of course, I'm promoting the new candidates because we need change. I'm tired of lies. I'm tired of half truths, and they need to. It needs to change.
Let's talk about the recall a little bit. So Mr. Junt, Mr. Kasmer, and Mr. Resner, right? Renner?
Renner. Yep. Those are the 3 incumbents. They are currently seated on the board. They were the 3 who were part of the reorganization process. They were in all the committee meetings. When the new board was elected, they were on all of those meetings as well. They made decisions as the District 7 school board. So now, mind you, the District 7 did not become a legitimate district until July 1st of 2021.
Okay.
But they created, they were elected. The school board members for the new District 7 were elected, what was it, December of 2020, I believe. So, and they started holding meetings and making decisions that January, I believe it was. So don't tell me that they weren't a part of it. So for them to say, well, we had nothing to do with it, we weren't on that board. No, but you absolutely had everything to do with it because you were making financial decisions as District 7. But you were still sitting on another board as well, District 8, and then some of them were sitting on District 1.
Oh boy.
So talk about a huge conflict of interest. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but they absolutely made financial decisions prior to the new district even existing.
So when is the election?
The election is August 8th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Arc.
August 8th.
Yep.
7
I
to
can't
7.
remember what day of the week that's on.
Let's see here.
I'd have to look at my calendar.
Looks like it's going to be a Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay, yep. Yep, August 8th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. So is there anything else that you'd like us to know about this? Come out and vote, right?
It is a mouthful. I mean, and we're talking about all kinds of different subjects too, just trying to inform people as best we can about all kinds of things. But yeah, the big topic right now, obviously going on in the community, is the recall. And, get out there, vote. No matter what side you're on, doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, clearly, my opinion, it's MPG, more Park Griner. Who doesn't want more MPG?
Are there going to be more debates or anything?
I'm not 100% sure. I would say go out to the website and take a look. Williston Kids First. That should let us know, keep us informed on things. But as I hear of things too, I'll certainly keep you posted, Shiloh, so that way, you can put posts out there and keep people informed of what's going on, where we're at. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I know we can look forward to Josh Gallion probably coming back after this next audit. He made the comment that multiple people had approached him and said, hey, you do this next one, will you come back up and do this again for the people? And so it sounds like that's the plan, is he'll come up again and talk to us directly, and hopefully stick around so people can have more conversation with him too, not just the Q&A. But we'll see what happens.
Okay. Oh, I was going to ask you one more thing, and I don't remember what it was. So we were going to have the actual new candidates on tonight with us, and that fell through. Maybe
the schedules just didn't permit it. It was too short a notice, and it was worth a shot though.
Well, maybe we can work on doing it in between now and the election if they want. So you just reach out to them and let me know, and we can go from there too.
Yep, we'll do
that. So.
Yep, I had given that Kevin your contact information, so he's helping run their campaigns. So I would imagine he might reach out to you.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, Dawn. I appreciate your time.
I thank you very much too. It's nice to be able to vent.
You bet. Anytime. We'll keep in touch and we'll do this again.
All right, sounds awesome. Hopefully next time we can have Kit back on here and have her wild personality too.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely will. I'll reach out to her again. We'll have to do it. That was pretty fun because that was, she was the one who wanted to talk about these data centers and water rights and different things and that. And so, yeah, it's something that needs to be said and people need to understand. People need to understand what's going on with our resources and how
Yeah,
much our
how it's not just a, and like she's always saying, it's not just a local thing, people. The little local stuff is attached to all the bigger stuff, and there's ties to China. We have that here in Williams County.
Yep,
Whether people realize it or not, but we do.
yep,
There's properties that's been purchased prior to legislation coming out with their piece. It's here too.
yep.
So, but yeah, thank you very much, Shiloh, for having me
You
on
bet.
again, and
You bet.
we'll
Have a good.
talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All
Bye.
right.
There you have it. That's Don Hollingsworth out of Williston. So, yeah, just before I go again, just a reminder if you guys want to look into the Lindell event, I'll be down there on the 16th and 17th in Springfield, Missouri. I'll be speaking on the behalf of North Dakota. And so I'm getting my speech ready for that. And hopefully, as Rick Becker told me, that I don't crash and burn, but it's kind of funny. I was talking with him about it, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry. I heard the first time you just crash and burn." And I was like, "Oh, geez, thanks, Rick." And he's like, "No, you'll be fine." So, at any rate, it's I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a new experience talking in front of that many people, and so at any rate, go ahead and check it out. It's called the LindellEvent.com. It'll be on his. It'll be broadcast on his systems too, with Frank's speech and all that. So there'll be more details as we get closer to the event there, and I'll let you know. So other than that, you guys go enjoy the heat, the weather, and have a good night. Adios.